I've always said that I prefer to make videos about what I love because, well, I find it more rewarding than spewing more hate into the growing cesspool that is this site. So I want to say that this video comes from a place of love. My love for Marvel. I know, a controversial statement for 2023, but I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It has been a big part of my life as I've grown up, and it really started my love for film. I won't say that my opinions on what they've done to the film industry as a whole haven't changed, because, come on, I once made a video about how we should still consider these movies cinema. But bottom line, I love Marvel, flaws and all. What I did not love, however, was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Boy, that name is a mouthful. I've tolerated a lot of Phase 4, between the shoddy CGI in nearly every single one of these movies and the complete failure of Miss Marvel or Moon Knight to adapt my favorite comic runs of all time correctly. Things are rough, and that is no more obvious than in Quantumania. A big, incoherent green screen mess with characters thinner than sliced cheese and a plot so just serviceable that it honestly makes me scratch my head as to how a $200 million movie could be so mediocre. Okay. That's a bit too much negativity. I'll fix that by pivoting to an MCU movie I actually love. Ant-Man, the first one. Sure, it isn't the best thing Marvel has ever made, it isn't even the best part of Phase 2, but what it lacks in depth, it makes up for with fun. Edgar Wright ended up not directing it, but his fingerprints can be felt all over the visuals. Ant-Man is some of the best cinematography of any MCU film, and I'm not joking. It's colorful, vibrant, incredibly creative, especially compared to the green screen fest of Quantumania. But beneath that, for as focused as it is on the fun of showing off a man who can shrink and grow, it is a heart that it never wavers on. It makes jokes, yeah, but never at the expense of the relationship between Scott and Cassie.
I love you, Cassie.
Sure, its stakes get a bit too big for such a small story, and sure, it can be a whole lot deeper than it was. But for what it is, Ant-Man is pretty good. There's a lot of things I can compare between Ant-Man 1 and Quantumania, but my focus today is on one thing. Take your characters seriously. What do Quantumania, Thor: Love and Thunder, and Shazam 2 have in common? Lines like this.
I just threw a truck at a dragon. I love my life.
Okay, no, that line isn't actually in the movie, but my point still stands. This isn't a crusade against all jokes in superhero movies because, come on, superheroes are goofy. And if you want your superhero film to be a comedy that doesn't take itself seriously at all, go ahead. Hell, even the best superhero movies of all time have jokes. But what separates the jokes in Quantumania from the jokes in a movie like Ant-Man are that they don't take the character seriously.
Look, momentum, right? Jump, tap, right? One move, jump, tap.
I know.
Superheroes are goofy. There's no denying it. But if you want your audience to take your characters seriously, you have to take them seriously as well, or else you risk losing the illusion that any of this could feel real. Not that it could happen, but that the audience can get past the silly costumes and superpowers and feel the heart beneath, like Ant-Man did. Ant-Man grounded itself with a human story about a guy who messes up every chance he gets, but ultimately wants to be there for his daughter. It never once jokes about that. It never once jokes about how stupid it is for a man to be in an ant costume fighting a god, because if he pointed out the absurdity of that, it'd make audiences realize just how stupid it actually is. It makes jokes, but it believes in its characters above all else. For example, take this scene from Ant-Man 1.
Look, man, I got a master's in electrical engineering, all right? I'm gonna be fine.
And compare it to him in Quantumania.
You're not the one with the hammer.
That's Thor. We get confused a lot. Similar body types.
Where did Scott Lang go? I'm all for him being a fun, optimistic guy, but you can't give up what made his character just because the Avengers film needed a comic relief character. Where's the down-to-earth guy, the ex-con who cared so much about his daughter that he sacrifices himself to save her? The best parts of Quantumania are what feeds into that soul, that heart that's always been about Scott's love for his daughter. But even then, it can't fix Cassie or Kang or Hope or every other underdeveloped character in this underdeveloped movie. It doesn't take MODOK seriously, which is a hard job, but it doesn't even try. Worst of all, it doesn't take Cassie seriously. Hell, she's barely even a character. Not even Kang can save it. Sure, Jonathan Majors gives a terrific performance. I mean, he's not a great guy, but whatever. But it can't fix the fact that there's nothing more to him than being menacing. There's no soul. All of this genuinely disappoints me. The first Ant-Man wasn't perfect, but I still thought it was amazing for all its flaws. I love it. I grew up with it. What breaks my heart the most is that I grew up with the MCU and loved it despite all of its flaws because it used to try. It used to try to be good. It used to try to have a soul. But now it's a shell of itself. An imitation of a formula that shouldn't have been used for 30 plus movies and 10 plus shows. There's a lot about Quantumania that I could talk about. I could talk about the half-assed ending that was filmed 2 months before the movie even came out. I could talk about how the spectacle of Ant-Man's powers can't be appreciated in a place where scale is so hard to define. But I don't want to anymore. I hope Quantumania and all these other half-baked attempts to control artists into making a commercial product instead of art come as a warning for Marvel. They need to change. They need to let their directors and writers take risks, break formula, and most of all, return to the heart that made the MCU so special. Maybe one day they'll find that heart again.